Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. I hope you've enjoyed your weekend. I've enjoyed mine. Haven't done much, but sometimes a rest is nice, isn't it? Let's talk a bit about David Lemieux, Canadian, originally a light middleweight, I think, then moved up to middleweight and ended his career as a super middle. He retired yesterday after a very, very exciting career. This was a very entertaining guy, huge puncher. I mean, for one punch wallop, he's up there. Very, very good fighter. But before we get into his career, we have to mention, I think, the fact that his father was recently murdered. Very, very sad event. There was one of those killing sprees that our North American cousins are so fond of. And it resulted in this gentleman, Mr. Lemieux Sr., being killed. He was just standing at a bus stop waiting for the bus. Along comes a gunman, shoots him dead. I think there are other people killed as well. The murderer himself was apprehended by the police, had a little shootout and was killed. No tears shed there, but obviously this was a very sick man to do what he did. But that doesn't help David Lemieux. I think he recently got married, David Lemieux did, and he's got 2 children, I think. One of them's very young. Well, I think they're both, one of them's a toddler and one of them's a baby, I think. But he's done his bit for boxing. He had a very, very impressive career, wildly entertaining career. And he deserves a lot of credit, probably a lot more credit than he's going to get, because I think, perhaps not in Canada, but certainly in Britain where I am, we're probably going to remember his defeats more than his actual achievements, because he was, a very exciting fighter, but with a big punch. But he did briefly hold one of the world titles, which is the IBF title. He didn't hold it long because he took on Gennady Golovkin, who just jabbed him to death, was very aware of his power, contained Lemieux, and ended up stopping him, bloodying him up and stopping him. We all remember, and he lost the IBF belt. I think that was his first defence, but he lost the IBF belt to Golovkin. No shame in fighting Golovkin. A lot of people were ducking him at the time. Golovkin, as a middleweight, back in the day, was much avoided. Probably still is, actually. Although people will think, well, he's 40 now. He's there for the taking. Yeah, maybe. But back in the day, not many people want to fight Golovkin. And Lemieux, of course, we remember for the Billy Joe Saunders thing. That famous thing with Lemieux trying to put the power on Billy. Billy, at the time, was taking his career very seriously. What a shame he didn't always do that. Made the weight well, came in, used all his skills, and completely outboxed Lemieux. And there's that famous thing where he's looking out into the crowd for the punch that missed and all that business. But despite all that, if you look at Lemieux's victories, there are some really good ones on there. Not against A-class fighters, but ones that I always say that sometimes it's the manner in which you get your work done, And I think in the case of Lemieux, there were times when he looked absolutely devastated. I mean, really, really good. And I'll give a couple of examples. The Spike O'Sullivan fight, there was a lot of, trash talk, whatever they call it. A lot of hate coming from Spike, and Lemieux just wiped him out in a round. Huge puncher, Lemieux. I mean, well, he really was. And he did a fantastic job there. There was another fighter where there was a lot of bad blood, was Curtis Stevens. Stevens really liked back in the day, he liked to really have a chit chat with people and really lay it on them verbally. He did it with Golovkin and suffered. And he suffered even worse at the hands of Lemieux, because he was knocked spark cold in 3 rounds. I mean, if you haven't seen that fight, go watch it. Again, I know I keep saying it, but Jesus Christ, Lemieux had some heavy hands. And ducked no one and fought to the last. I mean, let's look at his last fight against David Benavidez, up at super middle. Lemieux was a small middleweight because he fought a long time at light middleweight. He moves up to super middle, takes on Benavidez, undefeated. I think Benavidez at the time had about 25 wins and no losses, no draws. Very, very heavy-handed himself. 23, 24, 20, 22, 23, 24 KOs. Most of them were knockouts and stoppages. And Lemieux got knocked down. I think he was on the floor in the second round, quite heavy. In the third round, he got stopped. But Lemieux was there right at the end, bloodied up, busted up, outgunned, too small, and yet he was slinging punches, and I respect that. I mean, this guy ducked absolutely no one. And other victories for Lemieux would be Gabe Rosado, the old warhorse gatekeeper, another fearless warrior. A lot of respect for Rosado. He fought Glenn Tapia, who was at one point a prospect, but fizzled out. Lost a lot of quite brutal fights, Glenn Tapia, but it wasn't a bad win at the time. Hassan and in Jikam, if that's I pronounced that right. At the time, he had something left. I think he only had one defeat going into the Lemieux fight. And Dan was, I think he was on the floor about 3, 4, 5 times. I remember that fight as being up and down. He's up and down like a yo-yo. And outpointed by Lemieux. That was a good win, you know. These aren't bad wins. And I think I'm right in saying the Ndam win was where he picked up his IBF title. I think that's the case. That was back in 2015, and then later in the year, 3, 4, 5 months later, he lost it to Golovkin. So, had he been, shall we say, more carefully managed, he probably could have won a title and held it for longer. But he was always up for the big fights, and he was in a division where there were some, very, very good men. So I think, as far as his career goes, he did well. He did very well. He was never an elite fighter, but he entertained us. I mean, if you want entertainment, go and watch David Lemieux's fights. Win or lose, he's there giving it all. And I respect that enormously. Much love to him and his family, particularly following that awful tragedy. But I hope he's okay. I hope he can enjoy his, I think he got married recently, and he's got his kids. Good luck to the man. He's earned every penny he's ever got, and he's earned a nice, healthy, happy retirement. Big tragedy for the family, but when your time up's your time up. When your time is up, it's up. There's nothing any of us can do, sadly. But the good memories of his father remain, I'm sure. So anyway, that's David Lemieux for you. My thoughts, few thoughts for you. Leave your comments below. Spread the word about Joe Stunner Boxing. Let's try and get our subscribers up. I think we're on 650 now, or something like that. And of course, as always, take care of yourselves. We will speak again soon. Bye bye for now.